Hey guys, Trey here from AmericanTrucks.com, and today we're checking out the Rancho RS 5000X loaded front strut and coil spring assembly for stock height 2014 to 2018 four-wheel drive Silverado 1500s. This setup is great for Silverado owners looking to upgrade from the worn-out shock struts, especially if you're aiming for better on-road comfort and improved off-road handling. This loaded front strut and coil spring assembly features Rancho's Progressive Engagement Valving, PEV, which on this strut is custom tuned for 1500s to deliver more responsive handling over rough terrain. The PEV system adapts to different driving conditions by adjusting the shock's response depending on impact, allowing for a smoother, more controlled ride on paved roads while giving you better stability when off-roading. So this RS 5000X strut also includes Rancho's internal polyurethane rebound bumper that acts as a cushion to reduce the shock's harshness, minimizing jolts over unexpected bumps. This helps the truck maintain stability by reducing body roll and limiting it bottoming out, especially during heavier loads or higher speeds on uneven ground. Additionally, the twin tube design provides consistent performance by separating the shock fluid and nitrogen gas, reducing foaming that can cause shock fade, which is crucial for maintaining a smooth, reliable ride over time. Because it comes pre-assembled with a new coil spring, upper mount, and shock absorber, this assembly allows for easy installation that we will show you here in a second, all while ensuring the truck's suspension maintains factory height, making it ideal for those of you who want an upgrade without modifying your Silverado's stance. Constructed with a very high quality materials, this strut assembly features a twin tube design with an internal rebound bumper to prevent it from bottoming out like we already mentioned. It comes pre-assembled with a coil spring, upper mount, and shock absorber, making installation faster and easier. The white finish is also corrosion resistant, ensuring this setup's gonna last you for years to come. Now, as far as pricing on this assembly, it's gonna land right in that mid $200 mark, which is a solid value for people who want a smoother ride on daily commutes or better handling on off-road adventures. Installation is going to be rated right at the middle of the road here at 2 out of 3 wrenches and should only take you about 1 hour to complete. Since this assembly comes pre-loaded, you won't need a spring compressor, making it a bit easier than some of those other suspension replacements. Now, let's see exactly how this goes on your truck with an install video from one of our AmericanTrucks.com customers.
To complete this install, all you'll need is either a 3/8 ratchet or an impact gun, 15mm socket, 18mm socket, a couple of 3/8 extensions, 15mm wrench, screwdriver, torque wrench, pry bar, and then for your lug nuts, whatever size lug nuts you have, this particular aftermarket set of wheels and tires, they required a 3/4, and then the lock lug kit here, I believe an OEM Silverado would have just been 22mm for the lug nuts. And that's it. Hi everyone, today we're going to be installing Rancho RS 5000X loaded front strut assemblies for stock ride height on a 2017 Silverado 1500 four-wheel drive. The truck currently has stock suspension, so we'll be keeping that stock ride height, just aftermarket wheels and tires, but stock suspension front and back currently. Let's see how it goes. Once you have your wheel off, you'll have full access to the front strut and spring and all of your other steering components in here. Before you get started taking any nuts or bolts off, there are 3 caps on these studs at the top that are holding wires in. And what you'll have to do is just pop those off to free them away so you can get to these nuts right here. Sometimes they'll come off by hand. These ones are a little tricky today, so just using a screwdriver to help pop them off from that tab over here. And then just repeat the same for all 3 nuts. All right, once you have those tabs free and you can clearly see your nuts on top of the strut tower there, we'll get started on actually removing the struts. So there's 5 main points that we're gonna need to unscrew here. 3 are gonna be these nuts up top, and then 2 are gonna be the bolts on the bottom holding the lower end of the strut in place. For the top 3 nuts, The easiest thing to do is going to be go through your hood with an extension and get those out. It can be a little tricky with these liners in here, so easiest is to find an access point from the hood and go down to unscrew those. All right, starting with these top three, these are going to be 18mm sockets that you need to fit on those. And like I mentioned, we'll be going from the top with an extension to pull those out. Now they're free from the top, we can just hand unscrew the rest of the way. And there you have it, the top is off. Now for the lower strut mount, we just have these two bolts here. They're both 15mm bolts. So let's loosen them and pull them out. All right, this last step here to remove the whole strut assembly. This is a little snug in there. There's a little bit of play. What you can do in different cases, depending how much tension there is in here, is either loosen up the stabilizer right here. Don't unthread it all the way so you don't lose, it'll be a little more difficult to put it back on. But other cases, and in this one, it seems like there will be enough play to simply grab a pry bar, pull down the arms a little bit, and then you'll be able to release that strut pretty easily. All right, so I got my pry bar here. I'm gonna put it on the lower A-arm. Put it back near where the arms go in and try to just push down a little bit to give yourself, you can see there, a little bit of movement just to get the lower strut mounting area off of the actual arms. All right, took a little bit of moving around there, a little elbow grease, but got her out fine. Okay, so before we go putting the new strut inside of the truck's tower here, Rancho does include a nice new hardware kit. We have new nuts and new bolts as well. The only thing you do need to take off are these little retainer clips, which actually also act as the nuts on the lower strut assembly. So we'll go ahead with a screwdriver and just pop those right off. All right, now that I have both of those off, I can put them back onto the new strut tower. That's gonna go on the lower, of course. All right, both of those are on. And we're ready to put this back in the truck. Just make sure you take off these plastic tabs before installing. All right, let's put the new assembly back in here. Make sure you line up the studs with the OEM holes on the top of the strut tower. All right, took a little playing with. It was a little tricky. You could tell the spacing between each stud and the hole is very specific, so they have to be turned the right direction. Had it backwards there for a second. But now what I'm gonna do is put one of the nuts on the top of the tower just to hold that in there while we're trying to put the lower one on. We don't want to put all of them on because we want to leave a little play so that we can maneuver the lower back into place. All right. And now just opposite of what we did when we took it off, I'm gonna use my pry bar again, try to pull down this lower A-arm and hopefully be able to move the lower strut assembly into place. Okay, so as you saw, the pry bar just wasn't enough to get the lower strut into place there. So what I'm gonna do is loosen up the sway bar, a few threads here, just to give us a little bit more wiggle room. It's gonna be a 15 millimeter, and there is a bolt head on the bottom as well, so you have to put a wrench or a socket on there to help counter that. But hopefully that'll give us enough room. It was a little bit expected given the OEM struts were pretty worn out, so probably compressed from stock ride height, and that's why it was a little easier to get out but harder to put back in. So that's a good sign for the replacement shock. So let's see if we can loosen up a bit. All right, now that we got a few threads off that sway bar nut, we should be able to pull this in hopefully with a little more wiggle room now. Give the pry bar one last shot. All right, now that the lower shock tower is in, we can take our bolts that were provided by Rancho and make sure that we're lining up properly. Don't want to tighten them down, but just get them hand tight so we can make sure everything else is in place. All right, now that the lower bolts are in, we can finish putting the other two nuts on the upper threads of the shock tower here. Okay, now that everything is on hand tight, we can proceed with torquing everything down to spec. So don't forget your sway bar as well. Now that you have everything tightened down by hand, we can start torquing everything to spec, starting with the sway bar link here, which should be 36 foot-pounds of torque. So get your 15 mils back on there, our wrench on the top, and our torque wrench to 36 foot-pounds. Okay, next you're going to torque down your lower strut tower bolts there. Those are going to be 37 foot-pounds, so let's go up 1 pound from the sway bar link. All right, that's snug. Next, we're going to torque down the top nuts on the strut tower. Those are also 37 foot-pounds, same as the lower bolts. Could be a little tricky with the wheel liner in here, so I might just have to push some things around, make yourself a little room, and there you go. Last one's a little tricky back there, but finally reached it. All right, now they're all torqued down. Final thing to do here is just putting those plastic caps that we removed in the very beginning back on top of these studs. This is just keeping in place these different wire harnesses. 1, 2, and All right, got all three on there. And there we have it. We have the passenger side strut assembly fully installed, torqued down. We're just gonna repeat the process on the driver's side.
All right, now let's get to wrap things up for a review and install of the Rancho RS 5000X loaded front strut and coil spring assembly for the stock height 2014 to 2018 four-wheel drive Silverado 1500s. And for all things Silverado, keep it right here at AmericanTrucks.com.